Watercolor roses. Yeah, they've plagued me my entire life. It's that one flower that every time I paint it, I think, oof, I could have done better. And so, in an effort to keep my free-spirited nature and to inspire yours, I came up with this fun exercise for painting a watercolor rose quickly and somewhat effortlessly with one big old brush, and you're gonna be shocked. Come on, you wanna paint roses with me? Let's go! Here we go, friends. I am using this smaller set, Kuretake Gunzi Tambai. I love it. It's got a pastel vibe. And then I'm using only my Unshakable Joy brush, which is a 3/4 inch flat wash brush. I want to keep it simple here. And I'm digging right in. This is Japanese watercolor. It's a little bit more opaque than traditional watercolor and dries with a slight sheen. Not a sparkle, but a sheen. Here we go. This is gonna be an adventure. Starting with the edge of my brush, just the edge right there, not the long part that you would think. And I'm gonna make a C, and it's a little bit of a wonky C, a wiggly C. And then I'm going to make a backward C with more pressure as I hit the middle of the stroke. And then another, and I'm letting that paint run out on my brush, a few little texturing marks there at the end of that stroke, and continue on. I loaded a little bit of a darker reddish tone on my brush and really lifted slowly to get that point. Adding a little bit of water on my brush, a light rinse, and going back into that middle just to give it a little zhuzh so things start blending. On the edge of my brush again, I've got a brighter pink, alizarin crimson, you do you, and adding little touch accents of that around the middle, and then making bigger petals with that press, drag, wiggle, and slowly lift technique. And you're starting to see this rose appear. The key is to layer these petals like bricks so they look more natural. And see how I'm changing from the long edge of the brush, wiggling to the short end of the brush. Sometimes I'm holding the brush just perpendicular. And now I'm going in with dark wine colors and accenting in those white spaces that haven't been touched yet. Just little bouncy touches, just little skinny marks. Look at that. Boom, boom. Little curves. And oh, look at that. Even a little bit of line work with just the corner of the brush. This is not a realistic rose, friends, clearly, but this is a rose that has the essence, the spirit of that bloom that I feel like it plagues so many of us. Hey y'all, if you're having a good time painting this rose with me, or you're just looking forward to painting it later, I would love if you could give this video a boop, and that just means a thumbs up, give us a like. Think about your darker brush strokes. They're going to be going towards the inside, the bottom of each petal to give that accent, to give that sense of the color and the depth fading into the middle of the rose. You want to get a little bolder. I used a smidge of purple there in the middle. And I make tentative strokes at the end of my rose paintings. I don't make big, bold strokes. I've got a darker charcoal with a touch of purple in there. So basically mix a black and a purple and even a little bit of white. And I'm going towards the edges of these petals, radiating from the center out towards the edges to create some shape. For me, a rose is a lot like a pinwheel that is spiraling, and you have to figure out which direction each petal is curling, right? Which direction is it curling? Outwards and up to the left or right? Is it curling inwards and down? You have to figure that out. And then now with the same brush, just some very simple leaves. We're literally just creating a teardrop shape. I'm going right to the edges of my paper, friends. Right to the edges because I want to create some interesting composition here. I've gone from my light yellows, my light greens, right into the dark blues while those leaves are still wet. And I am just bouncing around the entire composition all at one time. Look at how you can use this brush depending on the angle you hold it, depending on the pressure you use, you can literally twist the brush from using the flat edge, the wide edge, twist it up into just using the corner of the brush and see what happens. Look at these simple little stems or vines leading to more very bold leaf shapes. Gorgeous. This isn't realism, friends, but man, this looks like a rose. This has the heart and soul of a rose. Now I'm going in with not a lot of water on this brush, but some dark blues and a little bit of a wine or an alizarin crimson, just a little touch of that in areas. And now I'm dabbing that wine color again into the center to further define. I love these like crisscrossy little marks that seem to, in an abstract way, further define kind of how these petals curl and swirl and intertwine with one another. Look at that. I'm defining kind of the curve and the angle of that petal with a few simple strokes with the edge of my flat wash brush. Oh, so pretty. And this is at the point where I'm thinking, okay, Kristy, I'm liking this. Don't get too heavy-handed. Talk to yourself, friends. Don't get too heavy-handed. Get her done, get out before you overwork this thing. And I am very close to that spot. My color on my brush right now is mostly pigment, not a lot of water. Not a lot of water. And you're getting strong, bold color because of that. Few more marks here and there. You can add those directional line work marks on the edge of a petal, not just coming out from the center of a petal. And let's make a little bud here. I've got a little bit of pigment left on the brush, a little dry brush situation. Come back in with a lighter pink and a little bit more water and just let it flow. See what happens. It's a teardrop shape that's got some sass to it. That's all this is. It's a sassy teardrop. It's got ruffled edges. I'm bringing in some green. You know what a rosebud looks like. Some green. Those leaves are just spreading open to let the petals reveal themselves. And remember, this is all with one brush. Did you see what I did there? Let's slow that down. Let's rewind and slow down and show that beautiful green leaf stroke that I just did there. That stroke was so integral to capturing the vibe of this rosebud. I started at the base of the bud that I had already created in the pinks and the reds. And I was using I'm using the long edge of my brush, and I started to drag upwards. And as I drug, I quickly was lifting. And right at the end, I twisted up and lifted off the page. And that gave the most gorgeous little suggestion of a leaf that was wrapping around a rose that was just starting to bloom. I love that so much. All right, friends, if you're wondering what you should watch next, this playlist, this is your jam. I would take some time and pop into this playlist and see what this community has to hold for you. There's a lot of good stuff in here, a couple of videos, and you're going to be well acquainted with making art for joy's sake. See you next time.